It's bad enough that in so many of America's public schools, children are not being taught evolution, not being taught the scientific truth. It makes it so much worse if the Good News Club then comes in after school when the children are confused about whether they're teachers or not, and actually tells children that teachers who teach them about evolution are instruments of Satan. I mean, that's really adding insult to injury. That's more than just teaching falsehood. That's actually terrifying the children by telling them if they believe their teacher, their own science teacher, if they believe their own science teacher, they're listening to an instrument of Satan. This is more than just anti-education. It's actually deeply sinister. It's a common misconception that everybody who believes in evolution is an atheist, and therefore if the Good News Club alleges that anybody who teaches evolution is teaching atheism. There are, of course, a very large number of churchmen who believe in evolution. If you talk to any respectable bishop or archbishop or cardinal or indeed pope, you'll find that they do believe in evolution. So it's quite clearly not true that atheism has to go hand in hand with evolution. I personally have a different view. I think there is an incompatibility, but that's not the view of most churchmen. It's commonly said that evolution and creationism are just two different beliefs. You pays your money, you takes your choice, it's just your own opinion. No, they're not just opinions. One of them is supported by facts and evidence and the other one isn't. It's simply not true to say that these are opinions and anybody's entitled to their own opinion. As somebody once said, you may be entitled to your own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. Facts are facts, and the facts support evolution. They do not support creation. It's an extremely common question. If we're descended from apes, why haven't all the apes turned into humans? I'm not sure that it really matters for the Good News Club unless they perpetrate this particular piece of nonsense. We're all cousins. We're not descended from chimpanzees. Chimpanzees and humans are descended from a common ancestor who lived about 6 million years ago. That common ancestor gave rise to a number of descendants, including humans, including chimpanzees, including bonobos, including a fair number of extinct animals. There's no more reason to say that chimpanzees should turn into humans than that humans should turn into chimpanzees. The whole question is complete nonsense. It would be a bit like saying, if Americans come from Europeans, why are there still Europeans? If the Good News Club is telling the children, whom they have conned into thinking that they are their teachers, if they're telling children that evolution is just a theory, which they might well do because many creationists do that, then this is making complete nonsense of the use of the word theory. A theory to a scientist does not mean a tentative hypothesis that might be right or might be wrong. It means a body of knowledge, often that's highly substantiated as evolution is. There's absolutely no doubt about evolution. It is a fact. It's a fact. That's all there is to it. The evidence shows it overwhelmingly. The theory of evolution is the whole body of evidence, the whole body of knowledge, the whole body of theory, which goes along with that. It doesn't mean hypothesis in the sense of something that might be true and might not be true. That is a misuse of language. It may even be a deliberately deceptive misuse of language, I'm not sure. It's hard to imagine a more exciting, a more interesting, a more important thing for a child to know than where they come from. Why do I exist? Why am I here? Why are birds here? Why are dogs here? Why are kangaroos here? This is what we now know due to Darwin's successors. We now know why we're here. We know the whole history of how it happened that we living things got here. It's enormously important, exciting, exhilarating, fascinating for children to be taught this. Before the 19th century, you couldn't have taught them. We didn't know then. Now we do. These children are privileged to live in the 21st century when we can answer questions like that. And it would be tragic to deprive children of this magnificent, wonderful piece of knowledge. Cultural insensitivity is always a worry because one always is told you have to respect people's cultures and traditions. The tradition in America of the separation of church and state, I think it's an admirable one. It's possibly had the paradoxical effect that the United States is one of the most religious countries, indeed the most religious country in the Western world, and that could be because of the separation of church and state in a kind of paradoxical way. But the idea that a country should be governed according to the principles of priesthood, the principles of some kind of ancient holy book does seem to me to be entirely bizarre, and I would be prepared to, in my own mind, overrule my natural reluctance to infringe upon people's cultural sensitivities by saying this is undemocratic, and the ideal of separation of church and state, which is not just America, it's that the constitution of India, Nehru's India, Gandhi's India, is also secular in exactly that same sense. Unfortunately, India hasn't lived up to it, even less lived up to it than the United States. But it is a great and noble ideal of human enlightenment to separate church and state.